asking. I'm been trying to get that figured out.
Oh, wait, I'm back. What? Okay.
Good. You?
Yep.
You're good.
My mouse is just like not clicking on the Zoom window. Okay, Jensen, can you hear me? Thumbs up. Okay.
Is your mic good enough?
Does this mic sound fine? And or do we need to plug in an external mic? Okay. I'm gonna turn the volume up. Just yell at me if you need me to change to a different mic. I'm gonna start.
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, perfect. Y'all good?
Yep.
Okay. Eat finish when it's warming is existential. It's during threshold is not too late in every current matters lives. It's when heat's ocean candles life you web seas heat hotter than lies ocean deep oceans holy and ice within ocean depth poison sulfide vents in the atmosphere and hence the planet water UV desert is in the north. Europe Russian Canada heat zone temperature many fabric soils blown away to the engine dust the living humans so much feature greenhouse and the vaccine no one knows where. The threshold life much easier nation and not a drop shit or shrimp the earth and water burning. The Lord God estimates of fossil fuel take us there golden clouds and participation with CO2 when the thicker electron was crossed and everything is spiked up and dropped by 8 years at a 2 feet. The back pushes the earth over. The different necessary the more we keep burning fossil fuels because we get this every point of parallel system the entire planet having to make a huge difference about 7 billion close to double plants that lose. Reach the climate percent of makes a difference between extinction of ecosystem and you do there math with thermal weight solar nuclear we can reduce consumption of less which electric is not too late never will be just only 500 2 so 2 is better than 2 5 so tipping points are likely catastrophic spread. 23 system can receive a 1 pressure number of change alters the system for all ideal versus temperature need to be limited to 1 degree we already get to 1.2 adding to 30 points over the warming comes out reinforcing the myself like a dollar this is the well shape of wind models are not capturing all the rest of the cover south ocean the amount of energy and sheets of the foundations that are 30 or pressure is not a barbecue the uncertainty high and possibility we receive special attention to the worst case adaptations unsustainable with McLaughlin 24 lady climate change went on then ugly down McLaughlin says like Thursday for example even 30 degrees equal grow crops in different places the environment that AC countries would adapt and the future to scan the southern climate first the social climate does not pose essential thermal life the condition claims there's lack of research on higher temps in this should this be cautious the opposite typically claims are used to make it more likely climate increased conflict disease or sickness climate system and not often separately from current growth or attack whether humans going to adapt or whether food spending periods outside will be possible this essential change or occur lower chance of importance as skepticism and system confidence of future change will not be severe and it magnifies all other essential risk 23 large may not be needed during capacity of this has since when the order and this given season not specific research scientific figures based on lines of lifestyle studies in the brand analogous Permian this assessment is most compelling has the most thorough grounding and face of uncertainty unless it was reliable where since 16 cannot be rolled up under warming hurricane is my MIC data to so last day I fully change the substance versus life so often this take over defect the war breaks out during nuclear winter fashion also affected by situation changes what during new pandemic complaint evacuation biosafety facility at least upon high small power service selling will fail humanity is extinguished emissions of low trigger certification which collapses global population scata 23 ocean city effects of biodiversity the sea and the floors habitats on the earth medical claims are threatening the whole food ocean food chain of population fish one of the certification effect new population of the global population mitigating GHGs as eligibility depend on oceanic sources extinction group 20 common temperature food organically due to lose over one of the effects children on their spirals I don't become the eliminate conflict on the kill 2 billion spies nuclear parts cause harvest to fail which are declaring the war some nuclear and atomic weapon fossil hand of warlords marine dies cause alone cause self green extinction group 22 when setting is setting a climate community ocean where we cannot enter life and knocks the water size out the only remaining remains where bacteria generate hydrogen sulfide H2S through the atmosphere fall it that is accelerated oil poisons all vegetation animals die out the process may be underway again triggered by human carbon the F solves first energy demand trillions of daily decisions now reflect the cost of carbon attacks and advise consumers to reduce emissions either 23 the carbon tax consumers mitigate the harm the lead away in never ways easiest time the consumers the game master the work help me to move closing and fuel efficient engine driver harmony need soil solar low temperature by heat bombs and inflation appliance turn off light when they leave use of vision bulbs better less we avoid choices every day when they reduce carbon not only taxing the fossil fuel demand grill 21 government cannot identify we can see below your city practice of taxing that can make generally reducing emissions over time tax encouraging efficient because reduce miles time without driving you out of choice of making with energy because of all less if you were electricity and small and the short run is quite high and the long run is a lot of the risk with climate change second low carbon innovation it must be a cost effective market strategy is key match good 20 tax will work immediately all companies are stating you're defending core commerce. So give the CEOs a pass for decarbonization, therefore benefits will be playing companies want to transition money more certainty investment confidence certainty covered by carbon price on CNC. Go to the right low carbon goods because consumer searching for pressure every 25 price without carbon path and parasite cell where pricing is a 35 factor will be chasing. Opportunity center from line color says 100 power delay taxing over server to share hard price director tax on carbon B tech neutral only tax over comes balancing the other way. 20 counter pricing was heavily balancing your source means they require less. Representations fall because missing on the other markets fall. With all the pricing will become clear out so we push fall when the sun doesn't shine or the wind doesn't blow having no price has a signal for flexible resources respond. B carbon free but none the what. Tech unique hydrogen gas and superstructure and covers have got animation with that you get. Second connect with that full marker. Third, international missions a trade is key evolved. 21 nations will fall suit increases that carbon policy once receive US joins with the carbon price and order draft of the question world commitments in line with keeping the warming below 1.5 threshold versus emissions of trade. Once that notification indicated world of the price very difficult and function every day for priorities the original marks and that list with border adjustment will push the world to a meaningful price. Border adjustment solves leakage incentivizes global action. But 20 border adjustment prevents manufacturing moving overseas where it's going to believe the US on adjustment China and Russia is walking about talking about in-house pricing responses and how we get others back incentives UPs with it. within their own treasuries of the countries we blending with their own kin. Japan, talking with the US would be the 100% of cover with the WO compliant. What about China and India? States we inspire countries to pursue reductions. Thus, the plan the United States federal government should adopt this initial increasing carbon price advantage. 2 is China. Their current climate policies of facade to attract American foreign policy and useless discussions, economic pressure. Climate freezing room for U.S. competition. Collins. 20 Beijing climate diplomacy. This question of the steps here about propaganda, nationalism, play by institution, and goals of party control, party power. Investment on the savings and finance goal plan. Bill leverage the SES as a place to leave money, cash, muzzle, and private report, but political average, tax, element, and wide Washington, Beijing, and Trump. They're going to look at improve the negotiation with China's counterparts and let them on the large U.S. policy kind of PRC, British, Better, official PRC, bilateral, the energy system, industrial economic purposes, and the bridge, 2, 4, you're assuming environmental, can reach power levels, like several angry comments, forward, and pursuit power regard of the cause on the property shipping costs while using one arc median liver common competition and inflation. Never opposing carbon taxation and selling industry transition to the force, China compete with making commitments for large, when Beijing voted to trap the U.S. and climate diplomacy, design to consult over gratuitous gains. That gives them an opening in the LIO. Collins, 2020 to make travel high from $1,000, and the government economy, they come up core, U.S. foreign policy, there's treaties, representative of all branches of Beijing, company can represent more central opportunities in the China work as well, so I'm very displacing U.S. and keeping hegemony car. Global influence climate cooperation opens the door for China to rest of the U.S. PRC specific climate diplomacy remains to the Soviet States competition for territorial control, and operating climate requires U.S. accession key issues, America's messaging, voice of Washington, the continued effort of the CCP overlanding information, the hand in climate partnership, the trees, climate partnership, continuing monopoly interest, and the most significant position, the figure of PRC setting high risk travel, U.S. foreign policy, China, making session now for the whole imitation of usually the official nation would fail to fulfill by itself, and people fail by default, China regardless of decline, Washington hates the neutral price, lose reclaiming fitness, and tickets to pay off cost for nation, nothing. Chinese desire for general nations, global domination, heating up in the election led to international order. Kenya, 23 the way they do this motive that China has become the global superpower, the political and we have to call the strategies. They have the heart of China's strategy involved, becoming a sort of family, dominating the core, desire for the technical superiority, dominating renewable energy to reflect the desire. China must be the uncontested leader, dominating every sector. China emphasizes the desire to become separate by the region, nation goals to restore China's global power, and Beijing's Western leader. Dominating global order must be reversed. China's leads in energy because it must lead in all tech. China must be the global leader advancing energy, not just people to fight climate change. It's strategic opportunity to enhance renewable diversity, but China a prime position to reach out the global balance of power. It's the primary goal. Now, 23 China football says it's difficult to difficult to when they say the order this be seriously counted the order to be rebuilt the international space down this is the global vision, this is going to establish a new Chinese order and policies of global organized US ordering Congress is unfair and unreasonable partners of a former global government say should defend the interest that is Chinese socialist systems to be applicable. No, I don't know the language global. Power should reject fair and governance fair way. If I'm feeling major conversations with Ruby IPR, theft, the interest of CCP should be ordered by the international world of scales, negotiation, will not let by law, like the strong justice compliance for other benefits. PRC order causes extinction. Wang, 19 reservation become a talent for the US Beijing open elections and they were to replace American leadership under my US order and PRC seeks to uphold the order as a Chinese power under toxicity, is contesting the world, managing the authority, and give it for the whole world, as PRC trying to create the cause of comedy, equality, evidence inherent over the adopted the LIO, the trade competition, the point is to change of policies, is life, and scrupulous, even more resourceful, and German PRC to not manage US, how much more strong, thinking picture, war for security, world leadership, the age. WD, this will inherit America's global position for war, peace, and the world order rests on how the PRC is managed. The territorial struggles themselves, no nuclear done. 20 Washington concerned. Beijing currently is forced to overturn the Nesco. Beijing convinced the purpose of the US when to get nuclear during US or China increases the readiness to resolve major preparation for escalation of homeland society, UNICEF. When orbits of makes sense, strikes against basically Canadian nuclear missiles on middle use, the precursor to the use of weapons like this, California, rewards that the increased risk of nuclear pressure may crash China and society. It's makes sense to use in nuclear CNC trigger use or accident or can account of environmental units and China based forces and space EW all vulnerable to hacking nonetheless. Combination of reception of hacking accidents justified. This concerns the AFF solves the BCA forces Chinese green transition and the domestic tax ensures long-term sustainability. Erickson, total bilateral combination, coax and anti-testing combination make U.S. Pacific region the world lose twice. Washington for the building cover co-workers of Beijing wanting international resolution territorial disputes and yes, on competition will use Beijing for agreements for Germany, Washington collaboration. Our coalition government never said the OECD is not to go to class for Beijing combination. Emission use carbon taxation to change Chinese behavior in short democracy and zero domestic carbon tax market and negotiate the standard and zero CBAM and already says commercial energy to publicly available audits and how to use accusation of being on fairly single parent basis for resolution of disputes that we care for China taking our position seriously in China. Try to be ordered economy on the firms and create access to global export markets and where the source energy remain economically viable key market companies appear to accept the inevitable carbon taxation and example assuming a tax on carbon dioxide emissions and OECD countries together for metric ton US and other whatever mechanism China Chinese that's only for a stable weapon climate change negotiations in this past global commons eating give me another card pursuits inevitable never retrenchment lane turn whether US will see damage instead of the question there's a little bit of China Washington supposed to do this time the US might be distant because of the balance surrounding the time of primacy to be in demonstration claims that it comes up in China's not earning their voice he should the US should speak to remain the most powerful state of the house makes the focus about balance power the little movement of to do with the board contesting a political diplomacy at the time of great power competition 27 seconds.
Let me just read that.
The warming advantage. The AFF unlocks deep decarbonization roughly 24 harder rate means sectors don't have a tag on this top of the back of the goods spending chemicals will be cut using capture tag on this bit but looking at only the tag electricity and lab soda or hydrogen on the orbits of the ego to expect critical reason for additional policy there are no harder rate sectors so there are only sectors which clean the solution on a projected other possible alternatives require a carbon price.
If you want to like turn off your audio.
Okay. I'm gonna get a thumbs up. Jensen, can you hear both of us? No echo.
Are both of us like being unmuted like annoying for echo?
Can you do a thumbs up or a thumbs down? We have our speakers on. Thumbs up. Great. Okay. Cool.
Okay, you're good.
I'm good.
Okay, what price does the tax start at?
There's not like a specific price. We think it's calculated based off the social cost of carbon.
So, what is the price?
I mean, I don't know the price now because I'm not a scientist who would calculate it. We think that would be calculated based off of the.
So how do you know it's enough to solve warming?
Well, we think that the social cost of carbon is in setting the price at that is sufficient to solve. We've read the evidence in that context.
Right, but like
results
if the
in
social cost
reductions.
of carbon is set at like $5.
Okay, well, so two components to that. One, social cost of carbon. Two, plant tax is substantial, which means large, so it would be a large tax.
5 is
basis
greater than
for-
0.
Well, sure. We think that the social cost of carbon would be calculated high.
So it can
obviously
be,
make arguments
so can
in
it
the
be
one and
adjusted?
C for this.
Can it be adjusted?
Yes, it is increased. That is the plant tax. It says substantial and increasing carbon tax.
Can it be decreased?
No, the plant tax says increasing.
So it can only be in, okay. Okay. Does the plan fiat a BTA?
We think that an implicit result of the carbon price would be a BTA.
So how, like, can you
We think
explain?
a price on carbon implicitly applies to imports and exports of carbon-intensive goods.
So is that a yes or no?
We think that a carbon price implicitly applies at BTA.
So that is not an answer.
We think that for solvency questions, yes. For counterpoint competition questions, no.
Okay, that's
To
sort
give
of
you, to give you the truth.
Okay, so your 1AC evidence, the warrant for countries also doing a CBAM, your evidence is like the world will be pushed to do it. I guess what is the actual?
Yeah,
warrant?
the Clark evidence, you're missing the next line that explains why the world will be pushed to do it. Quote, the countries would want to have the money in their own treasuries. The world without them having their own carbon tax means that all the money goes to the US because it's imports and exports that are
Okay, I actually want to talk about Clark. So the bottom part you have Strong says, quote, discussion needs to happen with both political powers at the table and acting like we have a global emergency on our hands in reference to Chinese and Indian emissions. You've then read a second advantage that says we should basically give China the warming reduction middle finger. How do you solve?
I don't think that paragraph matters. We think that the paragraph
What?
before precedes that. Second, the argument is not we should give the middle finger to China, but rather that we should force them to actually compete on green technology and carbon, net zero carbon activities. So an example of
Right, but your
that
evidence says a
competition.
discussion with China is key to that.
Okay, so we don't think we need to have a discussion directly. We think that the ask signal is sufficient. We also think the internal link before that is irrelevant to a question of discussion
Okay,
because if they want the money in their own treasuries, they would do it implicitly.
And you think you have evidence in the context of China that says that?
We think that the Clark card, the paragraph you've highlighted, is irrelevant based on the question of discussion. We think if they want the money in their own treasuries, which they will, it'll happen. The discussion part is probably just talking about, like, globally talking about a carbon tax that is not relevant to the solvency mechanism.
Right, your $5 carbon tax. The China scenario, what territorial disputes escalate? Your evidence is just like China has a bunch
The
of
evidence says SCS, Taiwan Strait, brinkmanship in the, like,
Taiwan?
ECS, there's
What?
the Taiwan Strait, brinkmanship over the Taiwan Strait.
Sent 6 warming China. Could I just say it, please?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, is this room cold or am I just?
It's
No, it's
freezing.
cold. It's so
Okay,
cold.
thank goodness.
But I didn't
I was
say
the only one thinking it was cold in the last room. So.
No, it is
No.
fucking freezing.
I didn't say anything because I'm always cold, but it's tough.
I'm shaking.
Yeah, it's chilly.
You said 6?
Yes. Yes. Warming China. I will say the email from Jacob went to my spam. I don't know if you checked that.
Yeah, it initially went to my spam as well.
Damn. Just,
Yeah.
I've debated you all before too, which
Yeah.
is just really weird.
Wait, let me confirm.
Alright.
The email that you want is wjensen@trinity.edu, or is that not the right one? Oh, I can just forward everything to the email that you put in the chat.
Oh, I didn't realize it was
Okay.
my bad. I searched my email for really Vincent and
Yeah, Jacob has apologized for getting the wrong email on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not personal.
Why is Maggie here?
That's a great question. Okay. Kansas, are you all ready?
Yes. Or actually, I haven't downloaded it yet. Give me a second.
Okay. Will, are you ready whenever?
Okay, I'm good now.
Okay. Both Kansases?
Yep.
Lovely. recent data driven modeling proves that still sign auto recent WH forecast for discipline purpose safety and family differently going for history and economic trends. Model signals 50,000 times more history rigorously tested as one of the strongest trackers of any forecast or independent review panel. Probably most likely of any carbon tax policy the election of 2021. CO2 tax rebels were voted in to strike that understandably the general is pulling out. CTL selection for opposition is a cost 62%. The government should not tax emissions. Trump re-election causes extinction, causes collapse of U.S. alliances and of Ukraine aid, Latin American trade wars, and more that stress for trade wars, every Ukraine, which offer nature, cross-border tariffs, costs, inflation, immigration restrictions, having growth, spike aggressive, not inflation, rate 22, looking to doubling down. Trade wars, Ukraine, war with Russia, Putin's over neighbors, and Ukraine shelter with the alliance, architectures, back off, and pursue hedging, trying to restore economic access to personal competently stabilization, weakening of business force, global Latin American countries, business Chinese, the Muslims, incentivized military action, wants to the region, Japan, developing nuclear deterrently, we have a war over Iran, Saudi Arabia, over Turkey, and UAE, zero nuclear global, US and China's economy, self-launch, solar growth, solar realistically, for all more, secure greater possibility, deficit more than the US, potentially, and then nuclear result of US, the return to the next off, permitted must specify the rate, base, and trade compliance, as by Captain 9, there's a little between the 9, existing CT or error, rather designs for both CT is called the function, not protecting the models, consider the central identity of the tax base, including water over the tax base and trade, considers vote negative tax sign is the central question of the resolution, key to neg legs, counterpoint competition, and education, independently, lack of spec, rec, solvency, caliber 15 tax, education, community college, is supported by the policy, clearly, if the CTO tax emission later, objective tax, how will wish to circus up to be able to meet that objective. The next off, the United States federal government should establish a carbon border adjusted mechanism, suspend climate diplomacy, and pursue an economic containment strategy with China, and allocate funding for the development and employment of direct air capture technologies and renewables. CBAC like solves BTA good advantages and does not link to elections casting. In turn, the tax divorce of the election strategy standing with China, the U.S. Army mission in Pennsylvania, funding DAC solves warming, that's China. Then the corresponding DAC does the global 27 facility report, we can capture 100 tons per year, high cost restricting employment, agency scale of energy, efficiency, utilization of facilities, design and manufacture simply, quickly, modular units, lower cost, nature-based, efficient thermal technology, coupled with basic utilization, air contractors, understanding with DAC, tech, interrelation 13 to establish DAC, plus support by governments, accelerate fund, and then super client tech, massive amount of grant capital required, with all funnel investment, and then fund providers and capital, whenever necessary, investors, strategic, literally, apprehension, strategic investments, are really absorbing uncertainty, as really consider, and global public good can be used to save their from catastrophic work. So next off, the European Union should not adopt a carbon border adjusted mechanism. The plan will be coupled with border adjustments that are viewed as protectionism and collapse the world trading system. That's not power. The China, US, Europe, and China, at least all areas of fossil fuels, raising carbon tax and trade system rights, and inevitably make home goods more expensive. These escalate connections and actions that automatically will trade system more protections, controversial parties go. This is potentially violates WTO proposals for composition of circular protection, reducing emission investing into probably proposals to police protections to China most protections, incompatibility W vigorously testing US rules regarding exceptions to trading partners and for addressing the violation of WTO, GTD, mandates actions not exceed those of domestic products, not plugging border pressures, or from trade friction. Trade filters every existential threat of country. Ebola in 23 people were unfair for the number of polygons, different types of everywhere you pay time to the company and also the data. No trade to record levels of the COVID service to charge from me for rapid gases supplied by induced by movement mental relying on numbers from the 30% of all that happens in the defense of only inequality wars and social competition. No systematic cover that protect disseminated ashes to recover and acid deficiencies critical for driving a cost reducing mission harder weapon asher reducing efficiency run the super opportunity the subject weapon avoid conflict competition reality and become inevitable at the second force of trade. The next off the 50 states and the District of Columbia should establish and opt into a streamlined state carbon tax administration model. Now the streamlined sales and use tax administration to coordinate approaches for administering a carbon tax. The SSCTA should recommend and establish rules for uniform implementation of a substantial and increasing carbon price. The 50 states and DC should opt into the SSCTA and implement the recommended carbon tax policy. The counterplan is legal, solves innovation and global leadership, and spurs federal follow-on. Kasika Schultzen, 76 billion consider tax and emission states, selling tax, holding competitive investment with the national tax states, people that always keep constitution job organization, proposing carbon tax more optimal harmonization, police power pressure, non opportunity, use it often agree tax becomes less and more nationalized, the pressure tax and government in the future states, provide pressure local tax and state tax, provide platform for innovative research, supply for first forward for green time, development, jobs, and foreign countries, state carbon tax will stimulate ideas and ordinary for the scientific collaboration, motivate business to grow, and only cutting edge tax, stay able to see deficits, do not assume the counterplan specific mechanism. Kasika Schultzen, Province 17, SSCD, to find simplified tax and efficient cost of matter, reduce mobilized purchase, minimize overall cost associated with the tax and compliance development for states, SSCD is multilateral agreement with an enormous taxes effectively harmonized governance and purchase and uniform harmonized with ICC, providing uniform definitions of global missions, allowing business and industries using understanding, allowing utilization, reconciling increases of this regular emissions to reduce purchase, minimize cost, energy, encourage regulations, and increase the interest rate of reducing emissions. The next off the one is market-based solution to climate change constitute a global crisis of humanism that turns the global south into racialized disaster zones that makes land grab, social inequality, of warming itself inevitable. The alternative is eco-socialist decarbonization. Perry. The 20 democracy politics, virtual government, centric logic, future boundary, related to the impact of political decision, represent structural language, rupture, which are disaster, normalized services, disregard, failing, post-colonial decolonization, torture, dispossesses, disaster, global south face, relative, deadly weather events, civilization, climate emergency, failed to recognize, distract, ministry, solutions, disaster, revolution, racialized labor, global labor, protecting mass create ideas, parties, right, one division, labor, funding responsibility, lost global north, to deny rules, right now, sacred time, emerging economies, US and underground here, remains home to investors, responsible, sector, organization, slowly, recover for appreciation, root for crisis, mobilization, determined scale action, format, appreciation of the nature of social organization, borders are you real imagination software will be on your cap. Advantage. Taxes not solved, be watered down, more stimulants in 19 we make little highly, not likely to actually everyone is true to the influence of other regions, all policies, the evidence of emissions and climate. The plan's market signal is trash by fossil fuel subsidies, Korean 21 pricing and not African market signals, long fossil fuel subsidies. We got a really net price of the amount of 500 joules, 17 subsidy price of carbon below zero. Carbon pricing fails as well in. NEG tax every very hard basis of emissions, all markets not delivering high reduction revolution, not the event of emissions, not the emissions, recurring bills of all thousands of riches, the labor markets not the reach target dirty energy, decision energy, at least in the transportation, ag industry, then shortages of men, corruption, security, scale, track, information required every single one rebuild if you can imagine actually reduce kind of revolution, 3 negative, voter imagination, non-nations, corporates, other emissions decline, leakage, then untaxed sectors, block solvency, mirror, these 20 sluggishness, not activity, shifting country, lower taxes, security, emissions, not different sources, not easy emissions, result from magnetic, not markets, such a catalytic, moving hardware governments, random emissions, there are global emitters like China and India, which make emissions inevitable, cannot solve warming tax is irrelevant, and broad reductions are impossible, that's the extra 19 temperatures, 0.15 degrees Celsius, and if I know measurables, northern magnitude involved in standard P2, and non-elimination of emission reduction, 0.173 C, international policy, more aggressive, 1 equals 0.56, and actually, like, is non-starter, leakage is inevitable, even with the BTA, more than 18 members of the BTA, and the private leadership also comes from econ force, BTAs cannot prevent these price based like different countries, shift back, demand for fossil fuels, prices all lower, global price leakage, energy not control, visual, BTAs have low recommendation, driving linkage, adjustment, have no effect on leakage for pricing, warming is not existential, block now. In 28 services, never seen 97%, 5.05% of members of more was aggressive, many expected scientists, skeptical, catch like gravity, community of 6 degrees, holding a desk for growth, refuses evidence of existential risk protection based on models not transitive, not transitive, weather. That's 99% COT, planning, correlation, not an argument, or is growing, even high screen, away vaccine, level rise, 4% ocean related, outline study show, marine life, and accident of a message, design study, cannot be dismissed. As far as body loss is not existential, health study, risk is not really activity, occur risk, release, to increase ecosystem, equals body was not inhospitable, evidence for not living ecosystems, the liver for a range of ecosystems, latest scope for breaking every environment, ecosystems are overwhelmingly local rather than global trends, humanity by the regions suffering provided loss in their health, there's little evidence would identify with the partial results not what do existential immediately even more technical, there's little evidence by these declining low scale because species remain so long as no climate conflict impact could be in such as to affect the same across every country, still environmental shock, and same effect across all the structure, and to conflict, political, stable countries, connections, or contributors, the reduction of the immediate function, political, population, non-democratic regime, democratic development, and exclusion of a stronger impact on conflict risk. The China advantage, BTA is useless, it's too simple, it became too complex, and it can't be administered. That's Morrison. 18 BCAs were originally created with design, more executive, all studies come into consequences, solution likely to policymakers and only hope to anticipate that the rewrites accurately at the system mirrors to concur giving complicated administration under brushes to simplify admin and inevitably overrun oppressive missions from some. BTA prevents modeling devices and it causes backlash, and the incentive to model is too small. This causes all the 19 discrimination factors of BTA enforces lines limited expertise. And they represent fractions of economic cost and exporters all the get away cause of from versus targeted over country to third retaliate against BCAs use BTA to encourage fractions of not only conflict BCAs versus devices versus their emissions of alcohol regularly for world itself. First, no US LIO impact Australia. In 23 years, interventions included, Stephen, I might need more. Interventions including environment, development, security, leadership positions, specific cultures of international companies, span global and regional data of 53,000 agreements show other nations increasing capabilities consistent by 2017. Global loss list under economic difficulty placing together nations and regional clusters together in areas of Germany, China, India, Brazil, Mexico, Japan, South Korea, United roles, LA, Troubles, and Vietnam. Germanic coexist with our organisms, no leader, comes go out, health leader, various over issues, sickness, and above that. Cannot be broken by demo war or competition likely to return to US like next year. No China war, market 23. ASO, Pacific involved China buildings about creation of provocation, but escalation of the regional or US Canadian integration of supply chains remains these Chinese pre-operative as a real estate shelter, other regions, not about the nation, future launch of wartime strategy, universities to be. This question of legitimacy, do not think China's military capability, not invasion, China, republic, national revenue, the economy, place the world station, order, China, APEC events, not to protect China's economy, struggling, moral countries, the Pacific, training the United States, China become stronger, or US alone, press to be military capacity, use China, and management of the relays. The rest of manufacturing China, use US, second finance, China, and Canadian defense, on Japan, Taiwan, and effort, the efforts to make the request interactions, cross-cultural relationship. Go back to the warming advantage, I skipped a card, tax backfires because the basement increased emissions, as China needs to comment to border, it causes rescue, just maybe the relationship not straightforward, sufficiently high, not because the moving, the amounts of hold, the moving makes tax fire, maybe increase emissions, and tax increase emissions. Rules, elections, Trump rolls back the app and Harris will implement it. That Emerson 24 months versus Trump committed the rolling back every single one of Biden's regulations. Trump plus beginning institutions like airports and over the policy rejection of combating factions reminding of by the less than climate by process to agree industries to find pushing people new policy expeditions to access prevents an opportunity to pull from price and try to back crazy issue negotiations even with no respect to get a price on carbon. I marked that at price on carbon. Stephen will send.
Yeah, we'll wait till that happens. Okay. Is the audio still good with 2 mics with Joanna and I? Perfect.
So.
I'll let you know when I get it. talk about the advantage counter plan, the allocate funding plan. Does that allocated fund, does allocate funds also get like given to certain companies, or are they just like set aside for that investment?
The government allocates that funding. It's
Yeah.
not like a.
So like I guess we
don't-
allocate money, we put it aside, it's allocated. Does that money get used? I'm
Yeah,
confused.
the counterplan says development and deployment.
Okay, development and deployment. Great. How much is that funding? How much is allocated? What's the rate for that?
Like, you could not answer what the carbon price was for the affirmative.
Well,
it is absurd for you to
sure.
expect me to give you a dollar amount for the counterplan.
Okay, I guess that's fine. What are your examples of technologies that would meet the threshold to get the money? What would be technologies that wouldn't meet the threshold to get the money?
Direct air capture, like
That's one technology.
that's.
You've
technology.
said that and renewable technology, so I'm asking for a description of the second part of that.
I guess renewables could include things like CCS. It could include planting trees, bubbles. I
Okay,
don't know.
economic containment strategy is the second plank. What does that entail?
The internal links to Advantage 2.
Yeah,
have
sure. I'm
a ton
asking
of
like
things
what
that indicate-
specific
I
ways
guess,
do we
in what
contain
ways
China?
does the affirmative think that we need to restrain China or change our
The-
strategy with them? That's what we think the counterplan will do.
Okay.
Like, we'll read reality
How
to
does
or to a what is
The AFF
the
internal link is about competing and forcing them to implement green policies. How do you think economic containment forces China to implement green policies?
You like the same way that the app does? Like I'm not
Okay.
really understanding this other questions, right? Like you said that we need to like be evil to China, we need to pressure them. The counterplan does those things.
Okay,
You're also forgetting about the first half of that plan, which is to suspend climate diplomacy.
okay, the
So the
states
combination of those
the
is-
states counter plan, the federal follow on, Spurs federal follow on part of the Prüm evidence is the line you're getting for that just the words that says states lab for a more nationalized approach, or is there another part of this you think that says that there's a federal follow?
Well, the part after you stopped reading was approach to taxing carbon in the future.
Okay.
So it literally says more nationalized in the
Okay,
future.
more
It's not
nationalized.
policy.
Where does this imply or say that the federal government would adopt?
What
that
is
policy?
like the only thing that is more nationalized than all the states is the Fed? Like what?
Okay, I guess that's fine.
Like nationalized is national.
The rollback argument, how does Trump roll back a durably fiat carbon tax?
Okay, obviously, like yes, you get durable fiat. That's not the argument. He's going to do other things. He's pulling out of Paris, deregulating EPA. Probably wants to like delete the EPA from
Okay,
existence.
so it's not a rollback of the app, it's just he turns.
No, like you get durable fiat if that's where
He
you're going.
implements policies that would offset the effect of the carbon price.
Okay,
is our
awesome.
argument.
He also could change the price of carbon because the app allows that. So he would just mess with the price or mess with how that price is
Okay,
adopted or implemented.
that's good.
Okay, 10 minutes. Oh, you're
Okay.
10 minutes starting now. You just have to move on the case from this.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, we should use it. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, stop prep.
Okay, I'll remove the background for what you're setting. So
I stopped prep with 107 used.
if someone could tell below that, that'd be huge.
Yeah, he was he So how have your other debates been?
Fun. I've been having a great time.
That doesn't sound like you've actually been having a great time. That was like something
No,
else.
I have been. I have a problem. I sound sarcastic,
Ah.
pretty much like everything I say. But I genuinely have been having a good time.
That's good. Yeah. Who all of you debated? You debated at least one Kansas team.
We
right?
did. We rated HP.
Okay. Nice. What other teams?
McAllister, Houston, Dartmouth. Who else? West Georgia, Western Kentucky. We've gotten a lot of the West.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I guess the Midwest.
Yeah. Midwest. Hey, okay. Richardson's back. You should help us.
we stop prep with 8:53 left. I'm sending it out now, but Joanna went to the bathroom. Wait, why am I in that folder? Can I drag and drop now? Wait.
This is prep.
Guess you can.
Unless you want some really irrelevant cards for the bit. I don't know what I was about to say.
I'm gonna do this. We have a second, so I'm gonna keep using our stuff.
I was getting Nars. Okay. Rude.
My saying is good luck.
Okay.
For who? Gotta steal it from you? Steal good luck energy?
No, it's good luck for me.
Oh. Okay, we'll switch stance, switch stance.
And by that you mean higher speeds, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Of course, of course.
Are you plugging it in?
Yep.
Okay.
It's so cold.
Yeah, my hands are really.
I'm weirdly not cold. I don't know why. Cause like you all are freezing, obviously, and it's just like,
Okay, let's see if this mic works. I've never plugged it into this computer.
And zoom in. I don't
we're
think
about
I've
to
done
find
that.
out where it works.
Oh, I just did.
Why not?
Sorry, my computer is scanning the
Might also
document.
just be the mic just being.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to the other side.
Okay. I'm good. Sorry for the delay.
You are totally good. Oh, the mic is working. Okay, perfect. Okay, can you hear me okay on the Zoom? Perfect. The order is the advantages in order, so warming and then China. Topicality, the advantage counterplan, the states counterplan, the CAPK, the trade disad, the elections disad. It's warming, China, topicality, the advantage counterplan, the states counterplan, the CAPK, the trade disad, the elections disad. Okay. Does everybody have it, and is everyone good?
One moment, sorry, let me get mine.
Yeah, no worries. Let me know if you're good.
Go ahead.
Okay. 1 and C1, Dolores and Williamson, evidence durable, he also has the cover text applies to everyone. It's 1 and C2, fossil fuels are relevant. Caliber 23, fossil fuel subsidies are unlikely to increase production in the US and led to a minimal 0.4% more. If the domestic production size is defined similarly with other cases, companies better approaches cover tax to account for energy use. 1 and C3, while as well as this opinion piece about the suspicions of a carbon tax and theories are irrelevant. They're not indicative of future success. Carbon tax would be more successful in the US because it's substantial, allowing it to solve its economy-wide. The US has a greater opportunity for incremental payment and has a highly innovative economy. 1 and C4, the iron evidence, no leakage of ECA. Of course, other countries make emissions reduction, so companies would not be able to offshore. The 1 and C4 evidence says that it's likely to make other countries adopt domestic policies too, solving broader emissions. 1 and C5, this hydro evidence or evidence is about the smallest carbon tax proposal in a history, which is not the affirmative, and it's also conservative things take right of reason. Bankrolls by fossil fuels that you should reject it. 1 and C6, the more evidence, no leakage. CBD would make fossil fuels too expensive and drop that we solve demand side. 1 and C7, the Bakken evidence that applies the past recent warming to the future, ignores tipping points, runaway climate change, and conflict multipliers. Warming causes extinction, oxy, extreme heat, soil deterioration, and desertification of tipping points, making the earth uninhabitable. The impact is linear. Each threshold emissions reduction dramatically decreases the risk of extinction. That's the line. As it turns more, spiraling food and water scarcity combined with minimal decision-making time exponentially increases the risk. That's the camp evidence. 1 and C, no adaptation. It's unsustainable. It's uncertain, slow, ignores tipping points, causes more, pandemics is more. The cost of taking action now is denied by the consensus of scientists. That's in McCaskill and camp evidence. 1 and C8 of IoT impact. We did not read in IoT impact, but they did drop 2 scenarios. 1, fish lost in extinction, and the good accident resiliency stabilizing nations making war inevitable. That's a crib. 2, sulfide reno ensures extinction, poisoning food and water, destroying the potential of future survival. That's a crib. No new block answers. 1 and C9, yes. The climate complex is not a migration crisis. is food or water shortages above. 1 C10 is born on this. A slew of cards we saw. 1. Energy demand, internalizing the cost of carbon, increase in overall demand for fossil fuels, ensuring greener decision making. 2. Low carbon innovation, such as market certainty via carbon price and incentivized green uptake in the hub for lowest emissions. And 3. International lead approaches other countries which adopt a CBA above. The advantage. 2. Framing issue is that they dropped China is revisionist. 1. Environment, poor trashing of efficiency is silencing environmental groups to exploit the global commons for revisionist gain. That's Erickson and Collins. 2. Foreign policy, trapping VRI, AIB, and weaponizing control tools all proved. That's our evidence. 1 C 1. The BTA solves no gaming. Explained above. 1 C 2. The BTA solves modeling. Advantage 1. They might quibble over the plan but adopt carbon tax in response. That's a correct evidence. 1 C 3. To stop assume PRC rise. They might be right in the broad sense, but Chinese world order causes extinction. It undermines global security and instability to respond to global challenges like inequality, pandemic, terrorism, and WMD. That's the main evidence. None of it is happening in the status quo. As we should default to our scenario. 1 C 4. Yes. People China war. The China evidence lists a litany of hotspots. They're hurtling towards conflicts now. Taiwan, SES, Philippines, etc. And they've dropped China is revisionist. Only the affirmative is able to solve it because it gives us leverage in climate negotiations. See. Counter-interpretation of the plan must be toppling against good faith enforcement of all plan mandates for 1 after all cards be attacked specifics in depth time of the literature defending every angle is a fantasy, presuming the worst legitimized normal means to fix and Trump does into the plan. Tax rate fix or bad since they give the same financial effects to the plan. Those arguments should not have 100% win rate, and since it's unfair and teaches debaters nothing good happens. 2. Functional limits. If the solves, it links to states cap oil and politics. 3. The drop for topicals was predictable. Fake prices still selfish on 21. Price miners we don't set high because of quality set that way you don't see emissions reduction plus, and you showed that even lower prices the larger figures have the every year the price goes up and even if you start low you use the price exceeding 100. The advantage counterplan permutation to both permutation to the and all combinations planks. Plank 1. The counterplan causes a common policy rollback of fossil subsidization of broad cost equalization key classing and Wolf from 23. Shares are perceived as unfair upon for those imposing carbon costs are interesting the answer would keep attacking penalties and that are based with the producer relative to the use of unbeneficial policies that has produces says back to that level of yields and possible producing the CC counterplan is not to maintain fair competition centric down replicable policies and result in governments. The CCS plank 1. Scalability. CCS never become cheap enough and is 2. Energy intensive preventing warming partner 24. The carbon renewable cannot scale to keep it below 2 degrees. We can have 4 people in the house after either because it would be 1 million. Would require 2 kilometers of road means operating every year for a year. You needed 40,000 more to capture annual addition by energy regarding as a remarkable and has government renewable to the capturing 10% of the use emission of regard fans as efficient as in terms of the temperature solution of positive this year in 2 it would cause links. The third plank advocate as a voter issue justifies adding any random action that is inherently under the people carded advocates key suspending climate diplomacy doesn't solve. Domestic taxes key to make the US WTO compliant any offensive PC without a price is reasons why the plank it can also solve advantage because it doesn't introduce competition, which is the key. It does the Erickson evidence. The state's kind of permutation, both permutation, the kind of uniform. The 50 safety has a voting issue, PS2 solvency deficit, not real, just fairness and education. State taxpayers want federal lands, rubbish, and source each produces currently overinvested in extraction because the peer review costs of all the extraction of federal lands that can be future share of the mission of effective time to realize cost pollution and produces government based on the GG for realize cost of extraction. 2. Enforcement. They can't collect taxes. 3. No CDM. That's both advantages. The only international state against other countries like China and India to fall in line. And only way to counter Chinese vision. No federal follow-on. Eccleston 23. A carbon tax in town about 2 Republicans. The tax will be agricultural and fossil use rights. Well, the government mitigate with the offensive attempts and practice and will be extremes of both partisan hold the moderate hostage culture was they can't tax the border one strike down Charles in 18. SEC wherever states law the constitutional fight to British state level taxation for faster federal uniformity would be unlike a previous target with the federal common policy because broader border a measure to solve leakage. 2. Enforcement. Even a legal maximum negative fails fashion progress 16 state a trade of 5 trade offices fail in comparison with the reason the state property but we can say states a trade through their tiny offices with the whatever is both I would possibly so high the knowledge and necessary to obtain better compared to states beyond present for states institution would it takes decades and yet can't enforce this over 20 states how last year's within the federal special was private laws but the also having hard work spending more to research and it has to be done to regulate then say a common regulation by the companies will leave it in Congress will pass it to context that the federal government is necessary is key. The cap pay framework, the battles referendum on have that consequences of the plan leaks most of the be the plans and innovation and there must be in all the costing stocks that are harms with the inclusion of the plan for that solvency is key to fair and plan for this more predictable and non-arbitrary any other interpretation expo shifts the goalposts which we still want to see per cons said a free trade was good in peace and choosing on the design means they can't go for this because they read impact terms to themselves permutation to both either the all can outcome the place in the plan or it's overwhelmed by the status quo growth is sustainable 10 20 degrees ago it just got the role mitigate when later given our huge RG renewables and reproductive system was sustainable technology and conservation efforts are increasing the water federal state laws and and offset schemes established market party established all fields 1 illustrate crackdowns on fossil fuel transition to a 0 public support keeps on how and to 1 promote fossil abolition through revolution to 1 imagine common power by the world and the 1/3 the other prospect is far away from the G and even American civic cell revolution because of not a change in economic world that depend on people using healthcare and jobs embrace the win is all they've not readily to the plan the trade decide uniqueness kind of plans are voting issues here out of literature and avenues on education with the source fairness economies of voting issue causes strategies, human argument, taking responsibility, just sauce, tons of retaliatory thumbs, include 23 pounder, kept Trump terrorists, even added some on it, EVs and more Trump and pounder, 5 million, insane, human only should understand national terms of the pounder, and Joshua Republic decision to the act, and IRA, German age, the heart, telling me some words, worth of we're also going to be just walking up in these 7 times, the tower, fighting for the economy, because EU, CDA, thumbs to retaliation, or trade declines, and trade is slow now between the US and the EU, and the links propaganda, some ugly 22, the fossil industry, and polluters are set against her about this, level of these regarding that, reviews of protection, not a whole lot, which are level playing, now how to look at policies, until the WTO rules over the Euro legal rate parts, should obviously be taxes and excess domestic product, domestic taxes, and to apply the same terms to trade in green goods replaces dirty ones, which are with lost trade in Masha and White House 22. However, to make sure adjustment doesn't turn into protection to getting caught on the right, the comment is right if you don't get a $620 trillion when they give us a clean energy tech or with the use of an opportunity and need the right purchase of the power and as price and the sauce. Trade is resilient and we can adapt and no impact more 24 is having anything good and when this reach the level of which a conflict is grown. I think history but little reason of use inevitable trade parts if you good or by the letting into the World War I. It should never occur wars that occur between us with international activity wars inevitable and desirable. The elections is can you get a card answer the last part? Trump wins now 7 model categories and 9/11 attempts to run course that will lose Pennsylvania George from Wisconsin to leave Harris with a 54% need to be 4% ahead of Winnipeg levels of save it so 20 states have packaged general armed voters have one back or in states that have less of as the economy falling into the cost of living the object of election will be 1% per given Trump has given us 64% chance of winning. Either Trump is guaranteed to link a house of representatives and 96 and side the swing states decide the election championship will be winning these voters. He can win a contest with Harris. He reminds voters they like his policy. Harris would have heard of American against her issues for the DND national talk about the battle of the letter right affecting and some free banning her opposition being bad and she's tied of she'll lose and never be called for 9 years. Would you vote distance or something about him with the better so it is too late to find out. Records unpopular with inflation and aborted with Harris going to run by it will be hard to forward a new person and it was maybe 7 days left and Harris maybe doesn't have to overreact only there was a time to be against voters who as he heard about him or there was no link a Harris distances from the plan calls and I5 Harris had to clear on it. A tax for instance Harris from over against the to show she's not house responsible policy she wasn't Trump's company she said Harris who failed economic legacy P policies relevant for swing voters Israel 99 who partisan most is the elections monitors who were having spent approximately the battle ground sees the vote not watch out Trump Harris battle over technical Islamic to an end from the whatever the eclipse process to many ways for this more far better again her policies no Trump foreign policy disaster coming again 19 just makes years about the advent of December the Lord just been out so wars and result became much more significant look at some key some kind of the resistance process or results in the room time period isolation Trump engagement in the daily age of almost even all of other things engagement from close relation with Japan reports in Canada which all promote Iran and I never were pragmatic Trump bolstered here of course it's not a one food brought into countries and aging native and interesting the license to for uses Trump can provide weapons and of course a ceasefire Trump can't roll back the plan Gong Bluff in Denning 24 White House doesn't have a medal in covenant cities and states have that's here are going to include rights Washington Trump something in spite of private workers that Trump will make it difficult but they don't contend with the president's work to do as to secure the future throughout this is how Harris implements a policy and if it's controversial she obviously would. I'm good for Gus. Yeah. Oh, let me mute this.
Will you can hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, perfect.
Hold on, my audio says it's off, but there's also audio coming out.
Switch.
The speaker, maybe. Like output.
I think it thinks the microphone is.
Okay, now I've changed this to the mics, the speaker, so definitely no audio coming in now.
Okay, perfect. You good?
Yep.
Okay, I want to start with the first card on the advantage counter plan. It seems to indicate that, quote, carbon tariffs are likely to be perceived as unfair abroad. It says that it pisses other countries off.
Yes,
So
that's in the
why
context
do
of
they
not implementing a domestic carbon
Where
tax.
does the card say that?
I think the evidence is fairly specific that the United States does not currently impose a nationwide carbon tax, and then says that such carbon tariffs are likely to be perceived as unfair abroad, absent the U.S. implementing a carbon tax.
Wait, where does it say that absent a U.S. implementing a carbon tax part? Like, line?
Well, okay. One, evidence doesn't need to rise to that level because you don't have evidence that says similar things at all. The evidence is very good on the top level part of that question, that since the U.S. does not have a carbon tax, that a CBA would not be popular, or that it would,
Okay,
countries really
kind of the same
look.
question. The uniqueness card you read on the trade dissent, it says that our allies, like, quote, European and Asian allies are retaliating. They are angry because we have we've done a bunch of terrible things. We're nationalists, the CHIPS Act, the IRA, the WTO. Why does this not demonstrate that nobody will follow on to our CBAM because they're pissed off at us?
Huh? That doesn't make sense in the context of the AFF. The Cluth evidence describes how there's a bunch of things like we were dissing the WTO, tariffing other countries, but we have specific evidence from 2024 that says that they would model onto the plan, that they would implement a domestic carbon tax because they want to keep their money in their own treasuries, where if we have a CBA, they would not keep that money. If they implement a domestic carbon tax, they would.
Okay, it kind of seems like. Okay, that's fine. The state's counterplan, federal lands, what part do you read that those are sufficient or necessary to cause or solve warming?
The Revez evidence says that it accounts for a huge share of GHG emissions. We will read evidence in the 1AR that says
Domestic
that's
GHG emissions.
sure agree that it's domestic, but the counterplan doesn't solve international. But we will read evidence in the block or in the 1AR that says that state companies can just move up to federal lands, continue extraction, selling all of the same things, because state's counterplan can't solve that.
Okay, I want to talk elections. The Collinson card the Israel card you read.
Yeah.
The part after you made it really big says, to the extent this debate can actually affect voter behavior, it'll be through exchanges that the campaign leverages in the weeks to follow. The plan kind of seems like something to leverage in the weeks to follow. Why is this an AFF card?
Evidence is pretty good that says that people do not pay attention to things like ads. The people that are, if you pay attention to the news, you watch attack ads, you are decided on the election. It is the people who are entirely tuned out or not paying attention that are the independents, the moderates, whatever you want to call them, that are undecided.
Right, but this, I mean, the card literally says, quote, the stakes are high, the lights are on. Like, those people who are undecided are the ones tuning in.
It does say that, but it also then says that they are tuned out. The reality is that persons won't just.
Some will tune in, some will view it through brief clips, some will view it through social media. Like,
10 minutes.
the uniqueness kind of plans and solvency advocate, is that team or argument?
Team. Yeah. Every theorem was written team.
Yeah, great. Just those two plus condo, right?
Plus states.
States.
States, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty much just
Yeah. We should start looking at this.
that is sure. Okay,
Yes.
I was just about to. I think you probably. Is it really?
Winter was dispo.
Yep.
That's cute. Okay, 4:30. I stopped at.
Sorry.
No, no worries. I stopped at 4:30. Let me back up. Okay. The order is. It will be the advantage counter plan, the capitalism critique, the trade disadvantage, the state's counterplan, the warming advantage, the China advantage, the elections DA.
Wait, sorry. Okay, you're gonna have to give that again. That was literally everything but one flow.
That was kind of slow, but I'll give it again. Advantage counterplan, capitalism critique, trade DA, states counterplan, warming advantage, China advantage, elections DA. And it's just been sent. Absolutely. 6 minutes of it. We'll actually go overtime. We're gonna steal we're gonna use some prep to continue extending it.
Well, there's an overview.
Okay.
And then there's an underview.
Yeah, there's an overview, underview.
Off time, of course.
It's like a middle view.
I just got the dog beat downloaded. It would be so funny if it wasn't actually spec and you just went back to one of the other flows.
Listen, you didn't spec it. It's important. Will agrees. He's already
Will's
voted
not
back.
much,
He's already like on our tape. Okay. Kansas, you're good?
No. Let me yeah, I just got
Cross questions.
okay. Actually, I'll figure it out. We're good.
Will, you're good? Cool. Advantage counterplan concede the permutation does the competition, but we will explicitly concede that CCS fails, which takes up their low carbon technology solvency argument on the case. The advantage counterplan without a vote without a voter argument is a reason to reject the argument, not the team. It's key to chess internal link germaneness, and they don't have an offensive reason we should be held accountable for it. But we'll also concede the tariffs. That tariffs alone are cause, or actually, but they've dropped that they've dropped that the VTA is federally popular, which proves they follow on to the state's counterplan, which means there's no new answers. The capitalism critique concede the permutation, just the test of competition. There's no external offense or reason to reject the argument, not the team. The trade disad will concede there's no impact and it's terminally thumped, but their first card proves that nobody's follow along since are already pissed at Biden tariffs and the planned implementation of new ones would simply make them more angry and dissuade follow on. But the uniqueness counterplans are key to negative ground to and ensure link uniqueness on a topic that is affirmative bias. There's no reason it's a reason to reject the argument, not the team. Conditionality is good. Counter-interpretation, we get what we did. One, neg flex, F, sandbagging, side bias, and infinite crap meets the negs. Needs more conditional advocacies for reactive ground. 2, argument experimentation, solves risk aversion, incentivizes new argumentative positions, key to critical thinking and testing. 3, logic, proving the counterplan is bad does not prove the plan is good. No offense. 1, no skew, it's inevitable. From fast speakers, short DAs and T, perms, 2 AC choice, to add-ons and overlapping arguments, check, dispo. 2, dispo fails, incentivizes backfile. Generics allows the 2 AC to dictate next strategy and there's no community consensus. 3, view the judge is a referee, not a norm setter. Hold a high threshold for theory, concede reasonability and non-resolutional theory from tax back, which takes it out. States. Counterplan solves the entirety of the AFF state solvency deficits don't apply. One, sufficiency framing as per 14 states gets assigned and implement EPs, rule MBI, encourage cost-effective reduction, create widespread market signals, state level carbon tax, approach for sharing the potential advantages of the federal carbon tax, enabling program tax, reform to fulfill environmental requirements. 2, act or not action, Burshirella and 23 states. Circumvent state treasury progressively proactive climate policies does not matter whether national actors are able to sign Paris as long as they enact green initiatives. The state-centric nature of bylaws does not prevent them from being proactive. This is what matters. 3, uniform governance. It's uniquely transformative and overcomes all current flaws and patchwork state-level emission restrictions. It's Tennessee, Kissinger, and Schultz. 4, compensatory federalism. Thompson and 14 states will cater to successful warming solution policy. Pollution policy starts and ends with the states field. Policy vacuum at national level. Compensatory federalism describes a situation in which governments act at one level, compensate for wages at another level, lacking federal guidance. States are delivering emission reduction and international agreement. California linked its program with Quebec. The political situation is unprecedented. Transportation American climate policy fails to strike of state governments is no longer a question of how states will cooperate with national governments, rather how a national program can accommodate state programs. Now, perm to both links to the net benefit still includes federal action. No developed shooting argument sufficient to solve the link in the short term. Perm to counterplan obviously severs 50 states and national governments are distinct, and we picked out of the 1AC mechanism. Severance is a voting issue for fairness and clash prevents us from leveraging our best offense. 50 state counterplans are good. Test FFK only possible with uniform fiat. Anything else zeros counterplan solvency. That checks small apps and forces better app design. MBIs meaningless term. Any renewable subsidy is topical. Only limited out by the counterplan. Prefer negative flex. Topic is app bias. Small MBIs are neither controversial nor unique. Multiple thumbers like IRA, devastating net ground against absent run of the margin. Federal versus state is key to topic education. Bureau, you know, wait, the fundamental question policymakers need to resolve is whether more appropriate for the state to act in climate change with the Fed. No offense. Fed keywords are easy. BTA signaling legal arguments are plentiful. Counterplan is unlikely to happen. Is not offense. Otherwise, every app would be equally illogical. App also fiats multiple actors, courts, Congress, and executive all have to durably enforce a plan. They also rely on states for enforcement, which is the overview topic. Specific solvency advocates check. Wiseman and Oski in 16 states may combine individual mission goals into one multi-state plan states within collaborating states could establish multi-state coverage. Existing state plans include regional carbon trading such as the RGGI. Reject the counterplan, not the team at the worst. Now the federal lands deficit. Counterplan solves federal lands bigger than 16. Court indicates substantial authority for state to act now preempted by federal law. Key factors answering future question about whether state environmental regs on federal lands or preemptive rules are likely to be upheld. Statutes less likely to be preempted to the extent it does regulate only particular method or requires compliance with standards rather than banning an activity entirely justified based on the specific environmental harms that is fairly clear new laws and regulations and permits will be upheld. They are challenged. Lower courts uphold the counterplan's application of federal lands. Mitchell, Chadwick, and 19th Supreme Court declared review Ninth Circuit's decision holding Oregon's moratorium on mining equipment is not preempted. Ninth Circuit holding is based on rationale that Oregon's law constitutes a regulation, not land use. Federal law does not preempt state environmental regulations on federal land. The next two deficits are uncarded and unwarranted in the 2AC, which means every time the one error gets up, I get new answers. The no follow-on argument counterplan spills up to federal action, results in the plan. 1. State innovations teach federal regulators and create contingencies that support the plan, overcomes existing gridlock, and sets a model for federal adoption. That's Kiska Schultz. 2. Successful state carbon tax zeros resistance to federal follow-on. Canada and 17 state carbon tax have impact on national reduction. If states adopt a tax, there's enough support to adopt at the national level. State level taxes service building blocks of legislation. The key is state carbon tax. They prove effective and efficient while improving states' economies and building public opinion on carbon tax. 3. This results in a single federal policy gun like a 19 Fed. Carbon tax will be redundant with the state tax given a form of uniform Fed level preemption to state policy. Pricing is a logical part of the legislation. And 4. Spurs federal action beyond going to bring action by state and national governments to make global commitments and provide financial support. Congress model the Jersey Act to clean up waste. California efficiency standards lead to Fed standards for national actors provide info on adoption at the level. Now strike down. 1. It's empirically denied. California's ETS in 2012. 2. No strike down. DCC only applies to explicit economic policy. Title 19 rather than be motivated by economic protectionism. California's attempted to pay for by one of the cost of court justification should just say had not protected reason whether action law should not be subject to the bar recognizing discriminatory impact with stand judge of the court properly analyzed it. Conservative justice already voted to uphold it. Title 19, the first opinion to rule directly on the constitutionality was Gorsuch, and the 10th Circuit plaintiffs argued Colorado's RPS violated DCC. Gorsuch eventually narrow reading of the doctrine. Gorsuch wrote extraterritoriality applied to the extent that this valid doctrine, valid action on all only indirect price control is this scenario prevails. States will have more flexibility to adopt environmental statutes. Now they say enforcement. If BTAs are normal means with the plan, there are also normal means with the counterplan. Competitive concerns creates unique political pressures for the federal government to follow one with BTAs. Eichenberg and 1. Methods to address climate change include taxes. Countries especially suffer the disparities between their commitments. Lack of commitments. Businesses urging measures to ease competitive pressures from international competition. GHG regulating states use BTAs to protect domestic industry. BTA preserve competitive equality and necessary component. Feds won't bring a challenge. A winning ruling would give precedent for the WTO. The BTAs are discriminatory, which the federal government may not want to create. Now the last deficit durable fiat solves. It's just a resources deficit. There's enough resources to implement the plan, then there's enough to implement the counterplan. Now the warming advantage tax fails to stop warming. First, empirical. Most countries with tax haven't seen emissions climb despite high prices. Second, leaves critical sectors untaxed like transportation, ag, cement, cryptocurrency, grazing, and deforestation. 2AC has zero worldwide pricing alone is sufficient. Other carbon compounds and non-tax sectors making high emissions and inevitably installment 22 C2 do not target other carbon compounds such as methane, which has large warming potential. Emissions from ag depot waste land use are hard to assess and monitor, are not tax, non-tax policies are needed to limit other emissions, and BTAs don't solve leakage. It can cover emissions that a BTA wouldn't cover. Low fuel prices encourage consumption since consumers can pay more for it. Wouldn't see Morris now warming, no impact. Models are pessimistic, omit variables, and don't assume negative feedback loops. That's bucked in. Worst case scenarios are wrong. Schlosser and Kroll 23 climate scientists not waiting for apocalypse. Most recent IPCC names risk, but extinction is not one of them. Chancellor Zero science shows encouraging trends. World made progress on clean energy will leave it without further progress. Less dire scenario looks closer to reality. Human extinction not the main worry. Depends where you live. Regions have resources to appear suffer and recover. Climate change risk below. Not another threat. Nuclear war, pandemics far greater. Now climate wars is answered by warming defense because it never gets so bad that countries decide to escalate acidification. Zero reason. A carbon price solves existing pollution. Zero evidence says tipping points hasn't been passed. No biodiversity impact. It's resilient and intervening actors checked. One see Halstead or evidence definitely applies to their impact scenarios because it's about things like ecosystem collapse and toxic pollution, which is assumed and answered by Halstead. Tipping points are undefinable and loss of limited cavalry and Korans and 18 biodiversity is little evidence. This is a threshold one cannot know. Extinction results not pointing accidental data or small scale local biodiversity is the same as species. Replace also going skepticism regarding abnormal forecasting less level species. Now the China advantage. BTAs are useless. There's a fundamental design flaw where simplicity will be gained by industries to continue emissions, but complexity destroys administration. Their only answers was durable fiat, but does not answer. But one was unwarranted, and two does not answer our specific evidence. Their evidence is superficially intuitive, but fails in practice. Implementation is the thinking of pitfalls and empirics from NEG. It's overwhelmingly likely to be watered down through loopholes, roller 22 proposals, prevent leakage of the former tariffs, and the final word requires challenging in detail. Drafting the first and last time U.S. shut down 93 to include BCU tax producer convinced members electricity and aluminum was not taxable. Success is by lobbyists for scores of industries to seek exclusion until they tax them more holes in cheese. There's plenty of time for similar success. Rent-seeking behavior. Now, China revisionist is irrelevant considering they conceded that there's no incentive for China to go to war now. Our evidence is from 2023 and says that they fear U.S. response and loss, which makes them unlikely to pursue conflict. No LAO impact. One, cooperation is resilient. Other countries pursue cooperation in regional global clusters regardless of U.S. involvement, and even in the face of competition or conflicts. New data analyzing 33,000 international agreements solved. No, China won't escalate. Black 21 scholars identify flash including Korea, ECS, SCS, Taiwan. Wars not likely ambiguity serve U.S. while providing assurances Taiwan while discouraging PRC from invading. Cut it at PRC from invading. Now, elections. DA. Trump. Re-election risk extinction ignites global trade wars, economic slowdowns, and the collapse of U.S. alliances, which triggers wildfire proliferation in Asia and the Middle East, guaranteeing great power war that's dressed around the finish Evans now to avoid tariff second term Biden when price carbon increases and emissions under Trump imperial global climate goals of U.S. Mrs. 23 target and any hope of keeping warming below 1.5. 2. Trump dooms international cooperation and guts budgets for enforcing environmental policy. Zeros. Absolute change in 23 Trump. Scrub climate change from EPA's page not from national and international agenda. Trouble double down. All eyes from here symbolic but could have a domino effect. India and Indonesia, Brazil worked to dismantle climate policies. Blocked grid updates set allow for solar and wind and clean power. Division Z. EPA no death threat with budget cuts. I cut the last card at budget cuts.
Good for Cossacks.
Yeah.
The counterplan, how to states apply a carbon tax. Oh wait, I should wait. My bad.
How is yeah.
So you have your top off.
Okay, all good. No echo. Sorry about that. Okay, the states counterplan, how do states apply a carbon tax internationally?
Well, yeah, so our evidence gives examples of when the states have coordinated with international institutions. So I think the best example of this is our evidence talks about California and Quebec's emissions trading system. Our argument is that when
What card says that?
I'm trying to remember the author. I believe it's Thompson under compensatory federalism. Yes.
Where do you think this card says that?
Yeah, in international agreement, California has linked its program with Quebec. Political situation is unprecedented. Transportends American climate policy built on strength of state
I
government.
have a question about that. You've not read evidence about it. Is that enforceable or is that a non-binding agreement? Like, what was the result of this?
The result is that they cooperated over a climate, like cap and trade policy.
Are you sure that compact was not overruled in 2018?
I mean, I'm pretty sure. I don't think the 2AC or 1AR has happened yet where an argument like that was made.
The
So
Biber evidence is about regulations of environmental harms. What card assumes a carbon tax?
which card?
The Biber evidence.
Fiber. Yeah, well, our evidence necessarily assumes a carbon price, well, one, because a carbon price is an environmental regulation, for one. But two, our argument is that
Wait, what? Wait, how is...
like your question was, why does environmental regulation not do environmental regulation? Like a carbon price is an environmental regulation, correct?
No, it's an NDI, which is distinct. The Biber evidence is about things like mining bans. Why
Okay.
is that the same as a carbon tax?
Well, it is one, an example of states taking the lead on an important climate issue, for one, And two, we've read plenty of other evidence that suggests states can successfully implement a carbon price. So, like this one cherry-picked line doesn't really
federal
get you anywhere.
follow on.
Mm-hmm.
Why does the federal government follow on?
Well-
like the only line I see about federal follow on is eventually down the line when it becomes politically popular, the federal could follow on. Why do they do it, given you've said the plan is unpopular?
Well, we did not. Well, so
You did on elections.
well, okay, like from the perspective of the public, like carbon taxes are like our link is not like, oh yeah, policymakers hate a carbon tax that flips the election. Like our link argument is not swing state Congress people voting, for one. But for second, our argument is that when there is momentum for state implementation, that creates a home state effect where states who operate within certain climate, or like firms that operate within certain states with aggressive climate policies are more likely to lobby and sort of push for successful carbon or warming policies in the national setting.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. I'm sending it. It's just elections. Well, kind of wishing it was tax free.
Yeah, the moment Stephen was like, concede feasibility and spec, I was like, it's not gonna be the one enough.
I'm ruining this one, guys. Stole my thunder.
Spoiled the one enough. It's almost like the state's kind of also spoiled it. No.
Probably stole it on that movie I said, but-
Who needs a no benefit? It solves better.
Go back to Bricker's ideal kind of plan.
Okay, so and I won so many debates on it.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Okay.
Tax spec is a D rule.
Okay. Kansas, you're good.
No, I'm sorry. I need
Oh,
to.
yeah. Sorry.
Will, are you good whenever? Okay. Just give me a second, Kansas.
Okay, I'm good.
Both of you? Perfect. Finishing till year 23, even another than the budget cuts sectors require mass enforcement of public policy would stop. It also turns advantage to shuffle sell American leadership out to China to make $1 just in 24 weeks. It's like issues that are on figure because when you defend cannot be everything, do anything. Usually put demolish Trump, no China, despite several records, which like Trump, no terror, Trump says we'll build a higher rate in 2018, Trump's not trade, will shut up my people. Trump's working by making the China serve some worries, position on one, separate, get a good rush for selling the country out. Uniqueness. Harris is winning now, modeling based on latest polling, algebra, history, and economic trends gives her a 55% chance of winning preferred or evidence. Is data driven, rigorously tested based on 50,000 simulations, Phillips models found most accurate of any forecaster. In an independent review, it's consistent with 538 forecasting, 538, 912, usable polling, economic, never grabbed data. Exploding outcomes, Harris wins 55 times out of 100 simulations. Consensus of expert predictions include the debate to give Harris an edge that Server 9/11 or race for predicting the winner. After the updated predictions, Harris may perform to give the reason for optimistic expectation every opportunity matters. Results coming out of just thousands of votes in key states. Small women voting attention to make all the difference. So long as attention on the $1 billion vote is in the Midwest state and the money against the predictions. Harris margin will likely win. That's driven by momentum, but raising advantages and clear centers policy betted. 9/11 races have been so much money to be set at all. Trump's spread or right position. Harris will be galvanized the base on fundraising, but even to chase out building for operations, advantages, cash, and added field damage. Trump building will host good indeed purpose under Trump's trouble advisors claim victory and prepare Chevy's Harris faster. And then other Silver's predictive extrapolation is that Harris will lead once the toast debate polls hit the model. Silver 9/11 Harris margin rating Silver Harris wants 63, 37 more than the average win margin translating to polls. Harris is 2 point lead polling average today next week. She gained 1.5 running off 4 Trump 2 bounces for Harris won for Rosen sections again 1. Harris potentially with duty understand the case because the bounce adjustment playing Harris numbers to forecast the average debate model. I expect Harris to lose some minus merger 3 point lead. These like a pro model estimate of elders qualified 50s and 50s and 3 double week. That's the range I take. The link debate asks carbon tax is legal to Harris. There's an extensive polling that there's widespread opposition that on balance has a larger electoral effect than any thumpers. I'm not reading new carbon tax links because it was dropped. Do not forget that none of their generic link defense assumes the plan's unpopularity or its passage. Now they said other issues and the plan is not key. The link to the app is huge compared to thumpers. The app is a massive restructuring of the US economy to decarbonize. The links prove the effect would be giant. The app actually happens, but their part only describes hypotheticals. Now Harris has been able to successfully dodge Biden policies, including climate, by avoiding a primary. She seems been able to be silent. That's pile 8. The 2 where Harris is on the list. She's also opportunity carbonized electric buses. She's Harris not underground primary. She would be put in the desert where she stands on dishes given the normal civil but not forcing on record by order of lines to be a method race. If I'm reducing a mandate, EVs at the board, nice against today's or news higher areas, ICC Harris going to give a bunch of on to stay where she stands on dishes together. We can't be conveniently flip flop. Independently, there's a strategic ambiguity link. President Harris has managed to dodge divisive questions about climate, but having to go on record to plan with 2 urban Pennsylvania and costing election, she's already winning climate voters because they know she'll stop climate. So there's only a risk of the league proven in nature and wants to start to stop climate only in passing opportunity specific climate and early company once she's visited to affect change wires. Everybody tries to deal with compositions and promises slash emissions already votes, particularly the energy version of state Pennsylvania, so like delivery on climate, make it look too progressive to buy the new places with Pennsylvania Harris already has a boost care with climate climate and not advertising full funds to vote between 18 and 4 when you check on the stop already already on voters report that they have already Harris reset the conversation activists not demanding details nobody words calling Harris common championship everyone Harris called for fragment and action farmer talk on common sense problems real race about DC. The link is supercharged because Harris would have to cast a tie-breaking vote in the plan for the Senate. She's the beat with the most historical tie breaks and cast the deciding vote on the IRA. Now they said Dem backlash, but Biden is not the reason Harris gets credit for the plan. It's because she's the tie-breaking vote. You should prefer our issue-specific uniqueness. Those numbers are priced in, and we have link-specific uniqueness. Harris is controlling climate messaging, and it's benefiting her. There's only a risk of the link with resolution margins. No Dem thumpers. That's quality 20 breaks of options like also you just went fair comment back face for trigger break for gas hair someone less spoken for Palestinian advocates activists giving Harris more and then breathing to advocate for a top forward policy walking for Medicare for all. Recency bias proves who's serious with the gas making against pulling across the rest when and then doctor towards the end of the term and they line with the journal of recency bias and feels ready to play his what decision on current policy prior to elections disregarding Harris earlier election chances like the way push for environmental efficiency. They said Harris distances, that's wrong. She'll take the blame. 1. This is supposed to be not read specific link evidence about the plan's electoral consequences, but we have 2. Trump would campaign on repeal even if Harris tried to distance herself. Trump's approach to climate policy proves who make it an issue and promised to repeal it to post her to own it. 3. Their evidence is not about carbon tax, it's about capital gains and admits it's perceived. 4th, when it comes to climate policies, the left is punished for saying at all 23 votes across the president and doctors at the end of the line on the reverse reasons to say to make decision on violation of policy prior to elections and disregarding your legislative changes often. And then push for energy environmental strategic workers and non-green energy tied to the left opposite party large. There's a priorities link, all the straightforward with the climate small and agenda with that. When we agree this minute change will get this at right like there's down the agenda for mobilization that means that we fight at the motion abortion dedication modalities to be votes in the middle of the where they put climate wound up not to make course of the side should appeal to political group down decide about all the priorities here, so we want to fight the climate environmental screws. We're going to have to focus on climate. They say policy is relevant, that's wrong. Their evidence concludes policy in the days after the debate is key, which is the stuff I read out loud in cross-section news coverage proves that Grossman in 24 voted for policy, and they're trying to Democrats accomplish policy voters say not the minimum more pledges support. The Republicans and the proposal requires basic information about direction magnitude is effectively tries this information which received from the Senate reach finds now rural organization street policy shifts her incumbents. The overwhelming majority of voters vote on policy, not partisanship. However, 20 voter decision largely about policies. The question first reported partisan. Intoxication bills distinct policy voting surveys proves how hypothetical and it's not significant. A policy voting was do you care about policy decisions? The intoxicated persons is most American life. Your policy voting is more prevalent. Their sides. Many voters or decisions are influenced by policy. MBIs are very visible. If it's area 20, the market price was more visible as violence. These are trust citizens with economic costs of your price according to changes political action is larger. The campaign periods. The impact defense is wrong. Middle East real carry scope of nuclear war. Libya in 22. Wow. Their nuclear deliberation. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Syria, arms the regional number of world absence decision. I'm report decision. Logical foreign policies. Multi to the criminal terrorist elements. Versus regional conflict. Estimating nuclear war. Falling in the hands of terrorists. No impact turns internally. Was in the 1 and C evidence and their 2 AC cards not answer. Trump will dismantle U.S. foreign policy by filling military diplomatic position with incompetent loyalists. Invites adversarial probing, which the card does not assume. Crabtree. Being 20 review of any external visual feature Trump trying to be artificial loyalists have a little foreign policy experience. He clearly Trump state U.S. policy. You know, lines management deterrence. Trump dismantling beef standards. Certain control impacting U.S. foreign policy. State radically seismic. The domestic impact can prove over destruction. Invite global crisis. Russia testing movements. No restraints. Branch 24. No structure for China. Tension with the Iran and North Korea. Destroying U.S. allies. Demonstrating Trump's ability to interest in the role of America first. Overall testing. Trump these advisors. Strong factors. Less giving strong way GOP and accolades. Now the last card that they read, the Grom Bluff evidence takes out the act. Says intervening actors will be pushed to solve warming when the Fed does not. I'll read another impact card. Bremer in 24 American president. Injecting accomplished Biden in the Ukraine support of Trump as Ukraine swing combined under pressure. Frustrated result to let his state to risk turn war around. March Bremer at war around.
8:53.
142. You want me to tell him to send you that? We'll see that in the process.
Jacob's saying at the dock, we stop prep with 142 left.
Sorry, what did you say?
I was just unmuted during alt prep. But you said 142?
Yeah, 142 left.
Thank you.
I hope we'll enjoy my typing.
Yeah. Okay. Ethan, are you still on? Can you just unmute me if I can?
Yes.
Okay. It'll just be easier if I use your computer. I sent it.
Yeah, we have some pictures.
Okay. It should be sent. Order is advantage 1, advantage 2, states elections. Jensen, can you hear me okay with the mic that low? Good. I'll move it down. You said a thumbs up, right? Yeah, cool. Okay.
I'm just facing the dock.
I also need to open it. I also need the order one more time.
Yeah. 1, 2 states elections.
Why can I not hear you? That's weird.
What's up?
Oh.
Oh, he can't
No.
hear. Sorry, one sec. Can you hear us?
Oh, wait. I know the solution.
Oh, it just worked.
No, it didn't.
He just said thumbs up.
Oh, well. I mean, I can hear. I'm fixing the solution so I can hear. I'm sorry. But.
That's okay. I'm talking now.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Very cool.
Again.
Yes, I can do this spot. Might be this spot, but I can short one more time.
Yeah. Warming, China, states, elections.
Give me 1 second.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Y'all good? Okay.
Yes, the F solved. Pierce on scale 1 the US is a technical element. Shit changes in the US still bidding, which does have a second. US is key, uniquely key, the signal. They get rid of carbon emissions. The second is economy wide wall, which means it solves all the other leakage in other industries. Second, plan did not say clean energy policy plan does not means that implemented policy BTA yes solves because that multi countries want to have the money of their own economies and their own treasuries, which means that they implicitly follow on. Casino impact warming not going forward. Yes, impact. That's an impact drops. 2 scenarios. 1, fish. Lock us into food access to ability. Stabilize the nation war and let's create the defense doesn't assume the scale of fish loss emission. Second, sold by right now insurance extinction poisoning food. They want to turn eventual future survival. That's crib. The biodefense doesn't apply. 1, it does not assume fish die off specifically. Even biode alone isn't key to overall the overall human population. Fish die off specifically is key to our total links are both the vaccine costs in food. Then sold by second, the evidence does not say anything about fish. They cannot go for it. Existing emissions are irrelevant because it's about the future emissions that they have. Get capped. Advantage 2. The BTA is not complex administrative simple because it's the same as a tax, which is able to be calculated easily and able to solve empirics do not apply. It's not about the carbon BTA, but about a steel, aluminum one based off the amount of tons of a British ton of that doesn't tell us how it made anything. It doesn't have a word for what it's about on the BTA. Yes, model that was above. People want it in their own treasury. They want the funds there. Yes, the revisions of matters dropped. The China's revisionists rejecting evidence that's likely to be rechecking behavior. 1, environment. They feign environmentalism, malstretching course of revisioning silently environmental groups that bolster part of Erickson and call. And second, foreign policy explicit goals of the LIO, borders, people, organizing tolls, such as Asian bank and BRI proof. Advertisement that's Zhao. That matters because that's the reason why they go to war. All their cards are all. Why China would not go to war. Do not assume the revision scheme the fact that they want territory in the SES want to take out U.S. ships and they bomb job U.S. ship because it's war. Escalates very ship the Taiwan Strait, the SES, etc. All quickly escalated. 1, the LIO impact to the defense drop. China LIO impact U.S. order cost extinction on global security inhibits. There's also tariff inhibits WD that's weighing even if they win. The U.S. LIO and U.S. LIO doesn't solve anything. PRC is bad. If we should resolve a second, the U.S. is good. He's a cooperation over liberal global stable. 2, is solve essential risk states. It can't solve the intent either after it's established a border carbon adjustment regulation that can cap global emissions results in leakage because companies just leave the U.S. and pollute somewhere else. It gets struck down. It's factually illegal for states to implement taxes and transfer internationally. It violates the dormant carbon clause, which also be struck down in court. That Sheldon also needs the U.S. signal continue life. Up the tax do not send a credible certain signal needed for that to solve either advantage. Can't solve the main questions at all. The AFF is chasing to do so because of the treated. Because they did trade savings to all indexes are AFF cards. Their evidence does not speak to the UCC. It's just a single government case that the court decided with normal means does not apply. Federal normal means obviously have trade policy, but it's illegal for states to do that, so it couldn't be normal means for the states. I can work about states and countries, international countries, not U.S. states. Literacy must be low. Michigan State, glass of challenge, Sheldon, that's Sheldon. Political backlash ensures that's below. Counterpoint is illegal. States can't interact with foreign policy unless the counterpoint is not binding, thus insolvent. Comic. 18 counterpoint cannot make mention of reduction for the foreign policy agreements. I care for this kind of treaties and children out there on the foreign interaction with receipts and several that be difficult to argue. These do not intrude to the foreign person. They are meetings and negotiating between health foreign and foreign governments on the same time agreement. This also cooperation board can be used in the world order Canadian nuclear effective symbol. DCC gets struck down, shocking. 70 borders. Adjustments happened by state regulations used on the regarding trade. Those are beyond this article. The solution within the article, so maybe the state border tax struck down domestically, but if how on the board, common class, no federal follow on. Republicans hated they fear the tax will cause fossil fuel driven red states. Maybe they equally pisses them off enough it would be politically impossible. The same reason they made a link on the dissent follow on as possible. That's echoes. State innovation should not stay politically feasible. Even they could just mean would. Kindle dissent to build public opinion. Zero cars to the public listen to public opinions. If they don't, gun laws is winning requires follow on to happen, which won't happen. But Bianco, there's not non-carbon tax options. Obviously, they model toxic waste cleanup, but wouldn't do a carbon tax because it's politically costly, which is the entire link to the dissent. Only we had just the political viability of column, which takes out all the arguments that they cannot go for this means 1% risk of this means they cannot solve federal follow or international, which is key to solve emissions as well as manage to the dissent. No turns case 1, robot candidates beyond an increase in jobs, 2 AC government White House. It's not been carbon city cities and countries able to solve. Also, is always increasingly Trump cannot rule the back. Warnings are relevant. Advantage 2 not turn into force no need to be forced competition, which is government which is able to solve advantage 2 turns pro China work or countries who don't their own deterrent want to see impact emphasis is equally likely pro who does not would stop, not cause war. The Trump wins now, so monarchies a 61% chance of winning. He's ahead of swing states and high cost of living does face higher chance. That's King of story on toss up favors Trump with that. That's why expect on the Trump on the fall Trump on the here's one track of the leading decisively that it is and the coordinated heat is in her ceiling regard. Trump figure on the poll years data 2016 2011 Trump so performing a damn over eager to tell. Those are voting. Great survey carbon silver's best Friedlander. 813 on the 2 silvers get the government contract the 2 because one Trump is body kid just to check his word on his record like this. He's one few that it's okay the more but that news without more because coming against Trump is a threat and they start polling for the damn most polling against Trump in the landslide silver. Nothing more under that simulation. Farmer model experts card is a joke. It's like our writers think so. It's not a stable source on the question. Blickman's a con last not from Blickman says a Harris win. How many further keys on the Harris side you should be compared to hard no keys are nothing more than tricks and both ways on the warning card that can protect vampires pass endorsements on the link voters think she's already a green bullshit who supports the fracking ban and G&D that's Tyson nothing is working takes up with her beauty link and the pricing link voters still tie Harris passing Dorgan McCarthy not Harris and making moderation voters are buying here so losing middle and they vote virtue liberal Harrison want to ban fracking that she wants to switch with the GOP and very ready Trump is high tax or thumpers Biden Harris can't distance herself on Biden inflation at the border huge for voters who don't know how to find out with them the short and lackluster campaign that's 2 AC McLaughlin it's not about damn thumpers but tied to Biden he's unpopular so is she not distant Biden she's already lost lecture 7-19 key here's how the conditions are Biden and the whole of people embracing the law Trump and the attacker admins on record on the economy immigration other issues which ban inmates deeply impossible the card's only about Gaza doesn't apply but because of immigration and other things Biden sucks at Trump won't cut the station to being a loose cannon these adversaries can keep cooler heads in the avoid a war but he's a peacemaker he supported the Abraham Accords to strengthen alliance into searches for common ground as adversaries that's a chronic evidence no pro-lip impact or no pro-lip or impact Mueller 20 degrees they order laws and pull their weapons the weapons give me a little mention pull their ass up the benign the doesn't capable countries have to be considered a so if you have done so and you don't have to even consider the opportunity to Japan renunciation and accept the reinforced procedure jackets of prediction not because of the verb default and the pearl that have been fall slow and the use of weapons so dangerous costly and rule the neighbors some of the weapons that always make it seem to be difficult to obtain country coming below they hard they keep it short just to be a follow reason to use weapons Trump does a start in wars gray 21 Trump's acting to fall or to make it clear that the war is very little risk of the reality not choose to undertake on the form of invasion or America to her to be a loss lack of confidence on accident little reaction from America refocus of peace in the Middle East and the Balkans build on they just go out and then rebalance troops in the front line
Marked at front line.
It's in the chat.
4:30. Starting 4:30 now. there was an argument. Voters think green. I got down. Do you have any idea what that was?
Where was it?
It was right after uniqueness.
Right after uniqueness. Oh, it was voter.
Is that the link term?
It's she's past endorsement stuff. That's the
Past
one.
endorsement.
They think she's a green Bolshevik.
Okay.
And supports the green union.
Facts.
I'm just like, you're just gonna find it. Do you have translates or not?
Okay. The order would be the state's compact, the elections DA, the warming or climate advantage, the thing with all the fish, China. Which is
Yeah, okay.
You said states elections, right?
I was just punched my copy.
state's elections. Perfect. And then tax spec at the bottom.
Makes sense.
Bring it back. Here's the underview that I didn't get to.
Kansas, you good?
Yeah.
Will, you're good? Awesome. Timer for Will. Counterplan will continue to get struck down. There's no external offense on the page. We're not going for it. Elections. At the end of this debate, there are three reasons to vote negative. First, the DA is massive and encompasses all the scope of all of their offense since it read impact defense to an impact we did not read. Middle Eastern proliferation causes extinction and ensures a global conflict. Ensures a global conflict. One, probability numerous actors in the region, including Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, are on the precipice of nuclearization. They have expressed desire and capability and just lack the final push. You know it'll be fast and escalates quickly. Tensions in the Middle East are extremely high, and Libya predicts all those actors will put their weapons on launch on warning, zeroing decision time, and de-escalatory options. 2, magnitude, multiple pathways to global escalation. Every major actor has huge interest in the region, economic, diplomatic, and alliances, and they have no choice. And Libya says terrorists also acquire and use nukes, which Mueller doesn't answer. They've conceded the claim that Crabtree, the Trump election invites adversaries to test U.S. commitments, proves prolif is likely and deadly. 1-year defense card is about Japanese prolif and 2 years older than ours. It's making sweeping claims. We should prefer specificity. Trump doesn't start war is irrelevant. It's about perception, which they have not contested. 2, there's a high risk of the DA turning the case, which is especially damning because they've conceded that it turns Taiwan. They've dropped carded evidence that says that in the event of the Chinese invasion of Taiwan, that Trump would not defend them, which both collapses the LIO and encourages PRC hegemony and makes it impossible to mitigate the conflict, making the dissent a much faster internal link to accessing any risk of climate war. 3, they've never contested the original link, which is the baseline for winning uniqueness or a link turn argument, which means that in a world where you know there was 100% risk of at least one link, you should default to our arguments on uniqueness and the thumbers, because it's the link specifics are what shape it. Now I'll do the uniqueness debate here. Framing issue. You can never be certain of the election's outcome. The best and the biz get it wrong often because it's inherently probabilistic, but you know there's a large link that loses Harris the election. Harris is ahead multiple metrics. 1, forecast. Phillips ran 50,000 simulations that factored in polling, electoral history, and economic trends, and independent reviews said it was the most accurate result of any forecaster. It's data-driven and rigorously contested. The 1 year had 0 products of their evidence, and 538 agrees and added demographics and polls which further prove Phillips is right. 2, consensus of experts agree. The debate gave new optimism, which is essential for small differences in swing states, which is Saber. 3, momentum, fundraising, and clear policy. Evidences of race has shifted drastically since the start. Harris's energized debate got most of nations in history and is moving to the middle in a calculated and successful way, all while Trump is flailing and scared to debate again. 1 yard dropped 1 and 3, no 2-AR answers. Ignore Silver's polls. They haven't been updated post-debate, and he concludes that it will put the election in Harris's favor. It's empirically proven, and she did much better than previous candidates. Fully dropped, just read more Silver cards. 1 yard do thought. It's just his personal taste, prefers scientific and data-driven models. Now their next argument about voters thinking green or think she's already a communist. We read case-specific links, which should out way since it's dropped and controls the direction of this argument. Now the Thumper's uniqueness controls it. She's winning now, which disproves she's winning now by not campaigning on these issues, which is what carded one in our evidence that they did not answer. Now the link to make proper. You should look at your flow from the 1AR and ask yourself what they truly said to any of the link arguments. It should link controls the direction of uniqueness. The squirrel is inherently probabilistic and subject to change, but the link controls the direction of that magnitude. They have not contested that argument, which makes any risk of a link sufficient to make the uniqueness debate entirely irrelevant. But they've dropped 2 links. One, strategic ambiguity. Kamala is winning now because she has not taken a position on climate, and that is important because otherwise it would fracture the Democratic climate base, i.e. she already has some voters based on the IRA and other climate voters now, but the plan's specific stance on pricing is sufficient to flip the election. There is 0 1AR ink on this, so I shouldn't get to hear any 2AR answers, any new 2AR answers. 2, they've dropped the priorities link. Kamala is focusing on issues that are salient now to swing voters, like commitments to fracking and commitments to sustaining rural economies like in Pennsylvania. But the plan forces her to take a massive position and necessarily makes it outweigh and necessarily means that she loses the election. There is otherwise 0 defense to this disadvantage, which makes it functionally impossible for the 2AR to get up and say that their impact outweighs when we have carded internal link and impact defense. Now go to the warming advantage. There's no impact to biodiversity. The ecosystems are resilient and they've conceded no impact to warming to get out of the advantage. But the problem with that is their internal link to ecosystem collapse or food shortages are ocean acidification via warming. Effects will be gradual and it does not cause extinction, which means that there's no risk of this argument. Sulfide is obviously answered by arguments about climate breakdown. If it is true that warming will be slow and gradual, it does not mean that sulfides will be able to. It just means that sulfides will simply not be emitted. But obviously, our impact happens far faster and turns it, which means that there's no external offense. Now, the China advantage. They've dropped a couple of key arguments which should filter how you evaluate the rest of the debate. 1, they have dropped that there is no incentive for conflict. Even if China is revisionist and has expansionary goals, they have 0 warrant why in the status quo China is looking to expand territory or looking to dominate its SOI. They have read generic uniqueness evidence about how climate policy is potentially an avenue by which they can achieve such, but they have no brink or time frame evidence or even a specific area where they would attack. You should not fill in the blanks for them or read evidence for them, and because the 1AR explanation was simply not there. 2, they've dropped that the DA acts as if faster. The DA acts as if faster. They've dropped that Trump dooms international cooperation and makes it impossible to truly leverage our stance on a global stage, which means that any risk of the DA happening faster means that the link should come necessarily prior and turns their internal link. Revisionism will be what they sit on, but again, you should ask yourself the question: who starts the war? Where does it start? Specifics that they have simply not answered for you, so you should not fill in the blanks and vote negative on a DA that's unmitigated.
Cool. 147.
142 starting now.
Okay.
Yes. Can you type that?
Yes.
Yeah. It's very tangled.
Oh, I got you.
Thank you. Okay. The order is advantage to China, advantage 1 warming. That is that.
You're gonna go for fish.
I'm going for we meet tax spec.
No.
That's what you think.
Let's see what Will thinks.
Okay. Ready, good? Great. We've endured 4 years of Trump, but we've never faced a direct confrontation with a revisionist power like China or ceded control of international institutions. You know that China is a revisionist power seeking to upend the international order and is hurtling towards a direct war with the U.S., which goes nuclear, but we have substantial mitigation towards that ASAP, which makes their impact little more than a poop of smoke. Chinese world order causes extinction. No defense in the 2 hour undermines a global cooperation over pandemics, terrorism, and WT is the weighing evidence. It turns that this at it directly accesses their terminal impact. They've conceded the return proliferation. A Chinese world order would encourage U.S. allies to seek nuclear weapons for a deterrent, and so would a direct clash between the U.S. and China because they can see that U.S. deterrence is not working. The 2 cannot go for a time frame argument with a pro-live scenario. Their scenario is that Trump wins the election. He pulls out of agreements, withdraws the troops, that Japan and South Korea then enrich uranium, spend years building nuclear weapons, and that there then needs to be a direct conflict for them to even use the nuclear weapons, whereas our scenario for conflict is that China attacks Taiwan, the Philippines, or aggression to the E or SES draws the U.S. in because of treaties that require the U.S. to defend our allies. Yes, we have specific evidence yes, we have specific evidence that says conflicts happening now. The done evidence that's hyper-specific that says that China has an intent to take Taiwan, that they're revisionist, which means that they're trying to upend the liberal international order and are doing so via conflicts. They're doing so via conflicts. Yes, they're revisionist. 1. Environmental policies beholden to party power. They claim environmentalism and feign cooperation while they dredge ports, overfish, and silence environmental groups domestically. That demonstrates a broader revisionism and tactics that apply to all arenas. That's the Erickson and Collins evidence. And second, is foreign policy. China's explicit goal is to upend the U.S.-led international order. Explicit white papers prove encroaching on territorial sovereignty of India and the Himalayas, Philippines and the SES, Japan and the Senkakus, building and weaponizing atolls, death trapping dozens of countries, attempts to start organizations that counter Western-led multilateral institutions like the DRI, the Asian Bank, all prove their goal in international agreement is aggrandizing with the intention of undermining the world. That's the Zhao evidence. It is hyper-specific. It says that there is a litany of conflicts that can escalate, and I just listed a bunch of those above. You do not need to do any work for us. We would have to hack out and read into all of their warrants for you to vote on any of their defense, which they just assert in the 2R without doing any work for. Now, advantage 2. They do not have any defense to this advantage. The internal link to this scenario to both of our impacts was not about warming. It was about emissions. Warming can be slow, but emissions are happening now and certainly cause our impacts. It was a conceded internal link, and the impacts were conceded in every speech. The 1ER was very clear on this. You do not fill in the blanks for Michigan State for conceding 2 impacts in 4 straight speeches. First, fish lost logs and extinction. It ends access of food or protein sources for billions of people. It destabilizes nations and it makes war and proliferation inevitable. That was the crib evidence. And second, is sulfide rainout. It ensures extinction. Poisoning food and water supplies destroys the potential for future survival. That was the crib evidence. That was the crib evidence. They don't have any defense to this. Their only impact defense was about biodiversity, which was not a scenario we read. That is that. The 2NR's uniqueness for me means the DSS starts at 55%, even if I dropped every argument that they went for in the 2NR. Top level, no turns case. Trump cannot overcome leadership. The commitments to attacks cannot be reversed or decreased. It is a force to be substantial and increasing means that those actions remain. A PTA, a force to Chinese competition, even if Trump tries to do other ridiculous things. They dropped Trump as a loose cannon. That means that adversaries do not test the U.S. resolve in the face of essentially erratic leader. That is the Kronig evidence. It takes out the only internal link to what they have said in the 2NR. They said adversaries test the U.S. by proliferating. They would not do that because they would fear a Trump response to their action, meaning that the risk of the pro-lift scenario is 0. Second is that pro-lift defense applies. The One, no spread. Most countries oppose nuclear weapons and there would be massive political backlash which deters their proliferation. And second is that even if countries do develop nuclear weapons, there would never be an impact. States would not use them and they would defer to larger powers and their allies. That is the Mueller evidence. Now, uniqueness. Trump wins now. The Silver's model gives him a 64% chance of winning. He is ahead in key swing states and the cost of living is so high that it's decimating Harris's chances of winning. That's the Canacosorium evidence. Even if it is close or a toss-up, that will always favor Trump. In order for Harris to win, polls have to be decisively in her favor. Electoral college and empirics show that Trump always outperforms in the election and is far closer than ever established. That is the truth, that evidence. They are wrong about the debate. It did nothing to support her. Polls after the show the debate did not get any bounce, and the voters concluded that she was the same as they thought, but not that she was a better candidate, not that she was a better candidate. The 538 forecasting is wrong. You should prefer Silver. He is the best political expert and right more times than not. 538 is also not a predictive forecast or a statement for who will win, just a combination of simulations. So 450 plus simulations. The Trump wins means that you should be skeptical because the polls and forecasts always underestimate him. The Silver update is speculation. His model is still saying that Trump wins, which outweighs any of their uniqueness question. Now, the risk of the link should be on the risk of the link should be on the floor. Candidates independents already believe that Kamala is a Marxist who supports a fracking ban in the Green New Deal. We've read evidence from McCarthy from 5 days ago that says that despite her trying to distance herself from these endorsements, voters are not buying it. 44% of independents are still calling her too label and saying that they want to take her away all of their oil. And by the Biden thumpers, this also takes out their ambiguity link. The Harris cannot distance herself from Biden. Inflation and the border are the biggest issues for voters now, and they who don't know how to. The biggest issue for voters who are unable to define her with a short and lackluster campaign. That was the McLaughlin evidence. The extend the one-year Fleischer evidence also from this week, and says that she inevitably will lose because Trump will just conduct a smear campaign against Biden, which will apply to Kamala because she is functionally the same in the eyes of voters. Good debate.
Good debate.
Good debate.
Neg Dawson.
F docs being made.
Yeah, I'm not gonna wait for this.
Yo.